Shalom, everyone. This is Evangelist August Rosado with Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries. We want to thank you so much for tuning in on this Thursday afternoon as we are coming to you live from our main headquarters here in Lincoln, Rhode Island. I know our time slots have been a little bit sporadic, because of our schedule here at home. So I apologize for throwing all of these different time slots at you. But the good news is, if you don't tune in live, you can watch the archive. And so that's what we do. And so it's going to be a very brief, short study today. But I'm also going to share a couple of news articles with you pertaining to the rebuilding of a third Jewish temple. Bible prophecy calls for the rebuilding of the third Jewish temple. And we find 4 passages in the Bible that tell us that there will be a third Jewish temple that will stand on the most sacred piece of real estate on earth today that the Jews call the Temple Mount, or in Hebrew, Har Harbayit. Har is Hebrew for hill or mountain. Ha, the, and Bayit, house. So it is the mountain or hill of the house. Because there were 2 Jewish temples that stood there in the past. Solomon's temple and Herod's temple. Now, Solomon's temple stood for 400 years until the Babylonians destroyed it in 586 BC. Herod's temple stood there for 600 years before the Romans destroyed it in the year 70 AD. Now, at around 691, the Dome of the Rock was constructed. And the Dome of the Rock, which is an Islamic shrine, sits on the location where both those temples once stood. Don't get into it with anybody who says, well, is that the exact location? That's nonsense. It's not even worth a debate. Okay? The archaeologists in Israel that I have spoken to in all of my 27 trips over there to Israel tell me that the Dome of the Rock sits on the exact spot. So I think they would know more than some Joe Schmo on YouTube telling you otherwise. Especially these people who've never even been to Israel. The Dome of the Rock has been there for over 1,300 years. But the dome has to go. I've heard rabbis call for a temple to be built next to the Dome of the Rock. I'll tell you this, the Islamic world will never allow that to happen. Which is why they're going to be destroyed when they come against Israel. And that will pave the way for the ruler of the revived Roman Empire to come on the scene, confirm a 7-year peace treaty with Israel out of Daniel 9:27 to allow the Jews to rebuild their temple. When I spoke with officials at the Temple Institute in Jerusalem, where they're making all the preparations for the rebuilding of the temple, they tell me that they can have a temple up and running within 1 year. That was what they told me. That was the number they gave me. 1 year. That's pretty fast. That temple could go under construction probably after the rapture, before the tribulation. Or it could go up year 1 of the 7-year period of tribulation. We don't know. We can't be dogmatic. But it's going to go up pretty fast, according to them, at the Temple Institute. In either case, there will be a third Jewish temple that will stand on Har Harbayit, the Temple Mount, or what the Arabs call in Arabic, Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary, even though they deny that a Jewish sanctuary was up on there, yet they call it the noble sanctuary. The Temple Mount, where the first and second Jewish temples once stood. And briefly today, I'm going to share with you 2 news articles about the preparations for the rebuilding of a third Jewish temple. Now, I want you to write down 4 passages that deal with the upcoming third Jewish temple. Now, these 4 passages in the Bible are Daniel chapter 9 and verse number 27. Matthew chapter 24 and verse number 15. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 3 and 4. And Revelation chapter 11 verses 1 and 2. Those are the 4 main passages that deal with the upcoming third Jewish temple. Folks, make no mistake about it. Bible prophecy calls for a third Jewish temple. And the calls in Israel are getting louder and louder by the minute for the rebuilding of the third Jewish temple. That's the reason why the Temple Institute in Jerusalem was created, to make all the implements for that rebuilding of a third Jewish temple. The last time Todd Baker and I were in Israel, we stopped at a woodworking shop where they're making biblical harps, or what they call Davidic harps, or David harps, so that they could have these harps used. It's called the House of Harari. And Todd Baker and I sat down and we interviewed Shoshana Harari, and we interviewed one of her employees. You can watch this interview on my YouTube page, where they explain to us the preparations that they're doing in making biblical Davidic harps that meet biblical requirements and rabbinic requirements that will be used in the upcoming third Jewish temple. So I've been there, I've been on the ground, I've interviewed people, I know what I'm talking about. Don't get your information from somebody who's never even stepped foot in Israel, who don't know what's going on over there, but yet they're getting an interview from some guy who's never been to Israel, who is telling people otherwise. The preparations, ladies and gentlemen, are in motion for the rebuilding of the third Jewish temple. And you say, there are those who even deny there's going to be a third temple. Well, the Arabs will never allow this to happen, so that would be impossible. Well, that's the reason why the Arab world in the future will be rendered inoperable. When they attack Israel in Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39, Daniel 11, 40 through 45, Psalm 83, the Arab world will be destroyed. 5 out of every 6 Arabs will be eliminated. And when that happens, that will bring the Arab world out of the way, allow the ruler of the revived Roman Empire, the Antichrist, the beast out of Revelation 13:1, to come on the scene, and based on Daniel 9:27, confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. That 1 week will be the final 7-year period of tribulation to come upon unbelieving Israel and the unbelieving Gentile nations of the world. What's going to happen to the dome? I don't know. I don't have any biblical passages to tell you what's going to happen to the dome, but it's got to go somehow. In order for the Beit HaMikdash, it's Hebrew, for the temple to stand on its historical location, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Animal sacrifices will be restored up until the midway point of the tribulation period, when Daniel 9:27 says, but in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. At the midway point of the tribulation period, Antichrist will put a cessation to animal sacrifices. And he will proclaim to the world that he is God, thus defiling the third Jewish temple in what Jesus calls in Matthew 24:15 the abomination of desolation. The Jews will know that they've been double-crossed and will flee for their lives. And then that's when Jesus said in Matthew 24:16, then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Where? Petra. I take my tour groups over there to Petra. We know that it's going to be Petra. Isaiah chapter 16 verses 1 and 4, Isaiah 26:20, Isaiah 63 1 through 6, Revelation 12:6, Revelation 12:14. The surviving Jewish remnant will be held up at Petra, even though, 1/3 of the Jewish people are going to lose their lives in the tribulation period, based on Zechariah chapter 13 and verse number 8. The surviving Jewish remnant will be held up at Petra until they're picked up by Jesus the Messiah when he returns back to this earth at his second coming. And so we know that a temple, a Beit HaMikdash, will be standing in the tribulation period. Paul the Apostle in 2 Thessalonians 2, 3, and 4 says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except the come of falling away first, that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. That's the Antichrist, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God and that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, probably in the most holy place, commonly called Holy of Holies, showing the world that he is God. And the Jews will flee for their lives. John the Apostle, in Revelation chapter 11, verses 1 and 2, shows the dimensions of that third temple. And it was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, rise, measure the temple of God, the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. That is the time of the Gentiles. That began with the Babylonian captivity in 586 BC. Measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. Now, 42 months is the last half of the tribulation period. It's 7 years in length. First half 1,260, last half 1,260. It's 42 months, Revelation 13:5. Okay, it's 1,260 days, Revelation 11:3, first half. 1,260 days, Revelation 12:6, last half. Using Jewish colloquialism, in Daniel 7:25, it's a time, times, and dividing of times. Daniel 12:7, times, times, and a half. Revelation 12:14, times, times, and half a time. That refers to the last half of the tribulation period, when the Antichrist persecutes the Jews in his quest to annihilate Israel and kill those who refuse to take the mark of the beast. So that third temple is right now under discussion. Preparations are being planned by the Temple Institute for the construction of that third Jewish temple. Now, let me just quickly say hello to Michael Popes, Greta Sims Emery. Greta, we really do appreciate you. Thank you for being a blessing to this ministry. And of course, my daughter is trying to call in here, and I'm trying to let her know that we are on the air right now. And so those preparations are being made right now. But I want to share two. Let me just put the volume down on this here. There we go. I want to share with you two news stories. But let me just say, Michael Popes, Greta Sims Emery, Alice Reed, Jonathan Camp, Lori Allen Perkins, Amanda Tatro, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, I want to share a couple of news stories with you. This one is from the Israel National News. The Palestinian Authority is warning that Israel is planning to build a holy temple. Now, the advisor to PA President Mahmoud Abbas says settlers, quote unquote, Jewish settlers, are calling for the Dome of the Rock to be demolished and replaced by a holy temple. Mahmoud Abbas, an advisor to PA Authority President Mahmoud Abbas on religion, he's the religious and Islamic affairs individual, said on Wednesday that quote unquote settlers are calling for the demolition of the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount pose a serious danger. He said the statement came after PA officials' new agency WAFA reported that Jewish organizations that support the construction of a holy temple on the Temple Mount have asked the Israeli government to submit a proposal to the Islamic Endowments Department in Jerusalem and the Jordanian government to demolish the Dome of the Rock and to build the temple in its place. Can you imagine that? They're asking the Israeli government to submit a proposal to the Islamic Endowments Department in Jerusalem and the Jordanian government to demolish the Dome of the Rock and to build a temple in its place. Abbas said in a statement that the quote-unquote settlers who made these calls enjoy broad support from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the Israel, not the Israel National News, but the Israel 365 website interviewed an individual who's calling for not only the rebuilding of the temple, but he is also training Levites to serve in that third temple. His name is Yoni Sadik, and he is running an unusual school in the mountains of Judea to prepare for the third temple. According to Zadok, the first requirement for entering the temple will be speaking the holy tongue. But what he's saying is the holy tongue is not the Hebrew tongue. but rather a return to how men spoke before the divine linguistic barrier imposed on the Tower of Babel. He believes the holy tongue was the universal tongue. Before the Tower of Babel, everybody spoke one language. There was only one universal language. He believes that universal language is the holy tongue. I disagree with him. To further this cause of the third temple, Zadok established a school focused on educating Kohanim, Jewish men of priestly caste, and Levim, Levites, men from the tribe of Levi, who will ultimately serve in the third temple. He said, my school is open for any person, not just Kohanim, not just Levim. He said it's not just open for Jews. He said my school is open for Muslims and Christians. He said this is the next stage of the world, so everybody should prepare. So he's just not limiting his school to Jews only. At the entrance of his school, Zadok refers to the Beit HaLevim, the house of the Levites. He said, everyone who serves in the temple should know how to sing and to speak Lashon HaKadosh, the holy tongue in Hebrew. He said, in the world of the temple, there will be no English and no other languages, because of man's sins in the generation of the Tower of Babel, all the men were dispersed and their languages confused. He said the third temple will fix us, taking us backward and forward at the same time. The world will return to the days of old, before the sins, when everybody spoke the Lashon HaKadosh, the universal language. Now Zadok understands, he says, that modern Hebrew, as it is used today, is not Lashon HaKadosh. It is not the holy tongue. That's where I disagree with him. He said Ivrit, that's how you say Hebrew in Hebrew. Ivrit, I-V-R-I-T. Ivrit comes from the word to cross over. He said, it comes from over the river. He said it is a Semitic language, but it is not Lashon HaKadosh. It is not the universal tongue, which disappeared after Babylon came into power and Aramaic was spoken. Zadok explained that communication in the third temple, in fact all over the world, will return to the pre-Babel, post-Edenic condition. He said the post-Messiah transition was referred to by the prophet Zephaniah. So he quotes Zephaniah 3:9, and I will return unto the people a pure language, a pure tongue. But I don't believe that was the universal language spoken before the Tower of Babel. I believe that was a Hebrew tongue, which is why Eliezer ben Yehuda used Zephaniah 3:9 to restore Hebrew as the language of the Jewish people prior to the rebirth of the state of Israel on May the 14th of 1948. So I would disagree with Zadok. The pure tongue is the Hebrew tongue. Hebrew is the official language of the state of Israel. The rabbis never even wanted that. The rabbis wanted Hebrew isolated to the synagogue only, not the everyday street language, because it was a holy tongue, they said. But Eliezer ben Yehuda said, Zephaniah 3:9 says, that when the Jews come back to the land, Hebrew will be restored. And that's exactly what it is today. Hebrew, followed by Arabic, and then of course English is the third primary language in Israel. But the official language is Ivrit. The official language is the holy tongue of Zephaniah 3:9. It is Hebrew. So now that the Jews are back in the land, Hebrew has been restored as the official language, not just isolated in the synagogue. It is the official language of the state of Israel. Now the Temple Institute has been created. They have all the temple furnishing. They got the priestly clothing. They got everything ready to go. They're even breeding the red heifers of Numbers 19 for sacrifice in the third Jewish temple. There were 9 red heifers that was sacrificed in Jewish history. This one will be the 10th red heifer. And according to the Jewish sage Maimonides, the Rambam, Moses ben Mamun, he said when the 10th red heifer comes on the scene, we have entered the Messianic age, the rebuilding of the third Jewish temple. And again, there are 4 passages in the Bible that talk about, ladies and gentlemen, the rebuilding of the third Jewish temple. Again, Daniel 9:27, Matthew 24:15, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4, and Revelation 11, 1 and 2. A third Jewish temple will be built on the most sacred piece of real estate on earth today, Har Harbayit, the Temple Mount, where Solomon's temple stood for 400 years, where Herod's temple stood for 600 years. The Bible does call for the rebuilding of the third Jewish temple. And that's the reason why you need to go to Israel. You need to visit the Temple Institute. Talk to people over there who know more than the quacks on YouTube. And what they are telling us is that we are steamrolling toward the rebuilding of a third Jewish temple. The calls in Israel are getting louder, even to the point where the Palestinian Authority are saying the Jews are ready to rebuild their third temple. They want to demolish the Dome of the Rock. They're steamrolling toward that, they're saying. And now this guy in Mitzpah, Jericho, has a school in which he's training Levites, men who can trace their ancestry back to the tribe of Levi, all the way to Aaron, training them not only in the art of animal sacrifice, but in temple service. They are making these preparations, training these men, when that third Jewish temple is up and running. Listen, when you have time, go to the Temple Institute website. I think it's templeinstitute.org, if I'm not mistaken. And folks, see it for yourself. What they're looking to do for the rebuilding of a third Jewish temple. That temple will be known as the Tribulation Temple, or some would call it the Temple of the Antichrist, because he will defile that temple at the midway point of the tribulation period. But there'll be a 4th temple. That temple won't be built by man. That temple will be built by the Messiah himself. Zechariah chapter 6, 12 and 13. That temple, the millennial temple, will be built by Jesus the Messiah himself. And that temple is described by the Jewish prophet Ezekiel chapters 40 through 46, covering 202 detailed verses concerning that temple. And yes, animal sacrifices will be reinstituted in that temple in the millennial kingdom. Don't take it up with me, take it up with God. And that temple will stand for 1,000 years. David's throne is reestablished. Jesus will sit on David's throne in that temple. Isaiah 9, 6 and 7, Luke 1, 32 and 33. And yet, King David will be resurrected to rule under the Lord Jesus in that kingdom. That's Ezekiel 34, 23, 24, Ezekiel 37, 24, 25, Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 9, Hosea chapter 3 and verse number 5. Folks, what am I telling you today? The stage is being set. The actors are getting into position. And the curtain is about to go up on the end time drama. That temple could be built, in my estimation, probably after the rapture, maybe even before the tribulation period. During that gap of time, before the Antichrist comes on the scene to confirm a 7-year covenant with Israel out of Daniel 9:27. I don't think it'll be built during the church age that we're in right now, prior to the rapture. I'm thinking after the rapture, possibly before the tribulation period. Remember what I said before. There's got to be a gap of time after the rapture. Could be 3 months to 6 months to a year. I don't know. It's going to be a short time, I believe, before the Antichrist comes on the world stage, confirms that peace treaty that will commence day 1 of the 7-year period of tribulation. So, what we see right now going on over there in Israel with the Temple Institute, with this man training these Levites for temple service in that third Jewish temple, is telling you and I, folks, that Bible prophecy is about to be fulfilled. But before a temple could stand on the Temple Mount, the next main event on God's calendar of events is the rapture of the church of the living God. Stephen Mitch Smith, good to have you with us, brother. Folks, right now, I am writing a brand new book. This is going to be my 8th book. And it is called Daniel, a Chronology. I am having so much fun writing this book and learning a lot as I do so. I show you how to read the book of Daniel chronologically, and this book will serve as a commentary, if you will, on the book of Daniel. And I'm convinced that this book will be a blessing to you. And so, if you want to pre-order my book, Daniel, a Chronology, I'm hoping to get it done very soon to send it off to the publishers. Right now, I am on Daniel chapter 9. We just completed Daniel chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 5, and 6. Remember, we're looking at it chronologically, not numerically, straight through chapters 1 through 12. You need to read it chronologically, and I show you how to do that in this book. So, if you'd like to pre-order my book, Daniel, a Chronology, go to my website, todayinbibleprophecy.org, scroll down to the bottom of the page, click the donate link, put Daniel book, or new book, or Daniel book, whatever, $15 plus $3 shipping and handling. And once we get the shipment of our books in, I'm going to make sure you get your book. Like Greta Sims Emery, you got a book coming to you. Because I thank you so much for standing behind our ministry. And all of you who pray for this ministry, please pray about supporting us. We need your support. And I would love to have you join us in proclaiming Jesus' soon return. We do that through your prayers, and we do that through your financial support. Please help support us. We need your support. Hey, this Saturday, I begin a 2-day Bible prophecy conference at First Baptist Church in Webster, Massachusetts. I will be doing 2 sessions on Saturday morning, live stream. Then I'm going to be taking prophecy Q&A from the audience. Then I will be with them all day Sunday, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and 6 p.m. Again, services are going to be live streamed. If you live in Webster or the surrounding areas, come on out. Join us live, in person. Love to meet you. But if you can't, we will live stream. All right. I will be with you Friday. The time is going to be determined, but I will let you know. I know this was somewhat of a last-minute type deal. Amen, Brother Tim Mulkey. Good to see you, buddy. And Christy Miles. Waiting for the sound of the shofar, the trumpet. Amen. But Tim, I'm excited about this book. And Brother Tim, we need to get back to your church, man. I'm tired of COVID. I need to get back out on the road, buddy. Need to get back to your church. Need to do these prophecy conferences. But I think you're going to want to get this book. Because people read it, you know, even though the intentions are right, you know, but they read it wrong. They read it straight through. Don't do that with the book of Daniel. I'm showing you how to read it chronologically. I had one pastor say, Brother Rosado, ever since you showed me how to read the book of Daniel chronologically, he says everything is falling into place. He said it's amazing. You got to read it chronologically. Pre-order my new book, Daniel, a Chronology. You'll be blessed. Brother Tim, I will be calling you. Let's set something up, brother. Let's set something up. Absolutely. All right, folks, I got to run. I will see you tomorrow, Lord willing, with a time. I'll give you a time so that we can look at the political, setting the stage for the prophetic to be fulfilled. If you're coming in late right now, I'm going to upload this video so you can watch it in its entirety. And we're going to put it on my YouTube page. You can subscribe to all of my YouTube videos. We've got over 500 of them on YouTube. August Rosado on YouTube. And follow me on Twitter, Bible_prophecy, or August Rosado at Bible_prophecy. Look at all of my late breaking news stories on Twitter. Yeah, I'm disappointed with Twitter, and I let them know I'm disappointed with them. But I do list all of my news stories there on Twitter. And again, folks, stand behind us. Help support us. We need your support. So, let's keep looking up. Jesus is coming soon. The rapture is so very close. And, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I'm hoping, Brother Tim, we're in Israel this year. The good news, Brother Mulkey, is that the Israeli government is looking to restart tourism in April. That's what I've been told, buddy, in April. So, stand by for that. All right. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Practice social distancing. Wear a mask if you're in crowded places. Protect you and your family. Keep yourselves healthy. And Lord willing, we'll talk to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.